Hi, and happy Monday. My name's Angelica Lamas Baker, and you've stumbled onto my podcast, The Rare Queen Out of the Blue. All right, everybody, it's Monday, so you know what that means. This is a new episode of The Rare Queen Out of the Blue. I'm Angelica Lamas Baker, and you found us. So this is episode number 3, I think, because you start with episode 0, which is just like the pilot episode. The one I dropped last week was episode 2, and so this is episode 3. Yeah, that's right. I think so. I'm still trying to get this all kind of worked out in my head. This episode's going to be a little bit different. In episode 2, which was my goals episode, I talked about goals, obviously, and the importance of goals and some kind of methods to achieve them. And basically, you set goals, either they happen or they don't happen. A lot of people sometimes get discouraged if they don't happen. But here's the deal. Everybody sets goals. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. Anyway, I don't want to get back into and rehash my episode from last week because listen to it, During that episode, I discussed one of the reasons why I did not achieve my ultimate goal, which was to drop episodes every Monday, because the previous Monday I had missed. And one of the reasons was I was preparing for the ladies' fellowship at my church on Saturday, which I had to speak. A little background. I have somehow been, I've kind of been in charge of organizing that sort of situation for my church for a handful of months now. Not that I don't enjoy it, but I have since been learning that my job is to kind of put some foundations in place, some puzzle pieces in place, and basically lay a foundation for someone to come in and kind of plug in and be the body and to help grow everything. I am part of theta crossovering. I don't even think that's a word. Theta crossover was that our leadership team had to give us a name, and I talked a little bit about how during the ladies' fellowship that everybody got these really great names. Like, I love them. They're beautiful, they're elegant, they're mystical, they're just so. And then they got to me, and my name was Architect. They dubbed me Architect, and one of our challenges was to kind of research what your name meant and why they feel led and challenged to give you that name, why they felt like it was you. And the more and more I researched, the more and more I learned that an architect, everybody kind of knows what architect is. They draw up the blueprints, they lay the foundation, they build the building, and then other people come in and they do it. But you can't build a building without a firm foundation. And so my job at my church has recently been working on the foundations of the church. And by the foundations, I don't mean the actual building and the cement and the steel girders, all that sort of stuff. I mean the foundation of the body of our church. And a big part of that is the women and the ladies ministry. And so my job has been to help kind of start a foundation of that again. We had it for a number of years, and unfortunately, our senior pastor's wife passed away quite a few years ago of breast cancer, and since then, we really haven't had a strong ladies ministry at the church, and so my task has been to start building up that foundation again. So that Saturday, or that week, I was preparing for that, and I honestly, tell you the truth, dreading it. I don't like speaking in public, which is another reason why I decided to do this podcast, because I need to get more familiar with just talking out my face. And like my mom has said, that maybe I am not a big auditorium talker. Maybe I'm not that person who talks to auditoriums of hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe my bailiwick, that's what it is. My bailiwick is talking to small crowds. And the ladies' ministry, we had about 15, including me, came. So it was kind of an intimate setting, so I was able to kind of talk to them on a one-on-one basis. My line sisters, my sorors say that they listened to the podcast, and of course, while we were going through our probate and everything, all of our stuff, we had opportunities to talk to each other, and the way that we were encouraged to interact with each other and talk with each other, and a lot of them would comment that talking with me or listening to me talk was just kind of like listening to an old friend. They have just met me, but it's almost like chit-chatting with an old friend. Like, one of my, gifts is that I'm familiar. I guess is the term. So I've kind of taken to heart the term architect, in the spiritual sense, and stepped up to the challenge and was helping with the ladies ministry. And I won't lie, I was dreading. It seems that a lot of times, because even Dean, when I came home, first thing he said, how to go, how many women were there? And I'm like, well, 15, how to go? And I'm like, it went really well. I think it went well. I already said it went well. He's like, yeah, but who did you offend today? Who do I need to apologize for? So my dean's on our board and on the church board now. And of course, when something happens, and of course, when I offend somebody, he's the one that has to go and basically apologize for me or figure out what I did to be upset, to upset somebody. And so that was like his first like gut instinct, because the last few months it seems like I say things that offend people easily at our church. And of course, I really don't know that I necessarily quote unquote care or not care, because I'm looking at if you're offended in some way, maybe it might be because I might have hit a nerve. It may be something that you're working on that you know that you need to work on, and it hurt because you know that you're trying to work on it, but then it hurt because you know that you still kind of feel that way. Like, I kind of look at it that way, and I guess it's kind of a cynical way to look at it, but there's that. Also, if you're offended and you can't come to me, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm an easygoing person. People kind of get this instinct to me, like I don't care, or I'm not going to listen to you, or I don't, this, and this. No, I care, and I want you to come listen to me. There's very few times and things that you can say to me that are going to quote unquote offend me. Am I going to be upset in the moment? I might be, but if I take a step back and say, okay, that's your opinion, I'm okay. Like, I'm a person and I feel like you can kind of say things to me. My mom says things to me all the time. Dean says things to me that upsets me all the time. My friends, that's part of it being a friend and part of being in a family. I don't have to like you, but I do love you. Everybody needs to learn that. And I've been teaching this to my friends' daughters, who are basically my niece and nephew. I've been teaching this to her kids. You don't have to like someone, but you love them. They're teenage years now, and I hate that. I'm like, you don't hate your mom, you don't hate this, that, your aunt, your uncle, you just don't like them right now. You love them. Doesn't mean you have to like them. So if somebody says something to me to upset me, I don't have to like you in that moment, but I love you. Because as a Christian, that's my job, is to love you. That's my mandate, is to love you. I may not agree with you, I may not like you in the moment, but I do love you. As a teenager, you hate your mom. We had this with my daughter, who is, as I've said in previous episodes, is my stepdaughter. And she always come and, I hate my mom, especially when you're a teenager, because you go through that phase. I hate my mom. I hate my dad. Why are you picking on me? And we had to teach her that's a strong word, hate. You don't hate your mom. You dislike her at the moment. You don't like her, but you love her because she's your mom. You will always love your mom, no matter what. My brother, obviously you have siblings. I hate so-and-so, and I hate so-and-so, this sibling and that sibling. Okay, you may dislike them, but you love them. Because you can't imagine your life without them, and then when they're not there, because again, tomorrow is not guaranteed, y'all. If they weren't there tomorrow, how would you feel? If there was that gap, how would you feel? I have friends that I disagree with. My niece and nephew, for example, their mom I don't always agree with. Okay, I get that. We have some disagreements. She doesn't agree with me. That doesn't mean she doesn't love me and I don't love her. We're like sisters. That's okay. It doesn't mean I don't love her. I love her to death. Would I drop everything, drive 2 hours to Sedalia if I had to? Because she needed me, and it was an emergency, and she desperately needed me? You bet I would. I'm very blessed to have a lot of new friends and sisters like that. 23 other sisters like that in the world now, that if I'm in trouble and I needed something, I wholeheartedly think that if I were in need in a way that they would drop what they needed to and come and see me. And I like that, because that is our mandate, is to love each other. We may not like each other all the time, but that's family, y'all. So that was Dean's gut instinct, was, who are you going to offend? And that was stuck in my mind for the weeks leading up to that. And then it got to a head the last week before it, that I need to write this sermonette, and I need to decide. I had decided I was going to preach on, or speak on, Pray for Fire, because that was spoken into me through some of the theta leadership. It keeps continually be spoken into us. And I wanted to pray about that. And I wanted to speak about that to the ladies in my church. And it did root into me that I said some things that offend people, and that teenager in me came back, and that person that needed to be loved all of the time. And that if somebody disagrees with me, that means they don't like me and they don't love me, and I should just shut up and do what I'm supposed to do, like a good little person, and say what's going to make them feel good. But sometimes what's going to make you feel good isn't what you need to hear. And I struggled with that a lot, which is why I didn't get the podcast out that week, because I was still struggling. Like, I had kind of written my sermonette already, and I felt like some of it was harsh and some of it needed to dial back. And I did feel like I was going to offend somebody, and I was going to hurt somebody's feelings. And Pastor Carl and Pastor Richard were going to hear about that, and they were going to get upset at me again that, you said this and all this other stuff. So I was letting those little voices in my head dictate my emotions and how I feel and what I was going to say. And ultimately, the end all be all of it is it also ended up really well. The ladies said that they really enjoyed it, and it really turned out really well. And out of the ladies' ministry, what happened is I knew that there was a lady in the church who wanted to get involved with some things with the church and do some more and be involved in ministry and find a place where she belonged in the church. And her husband is now helping with and kind of leading the men's ministry. And to me, and my men's and women's ministry should be led by a husband and wife team, because ultimately they do work together. There are some messages that you kind of want to send to both of them, but in their own unique, genderized way, about wants and needs and being a husband and being a wife and all these other things. And it's better if a team of a husband and wife work towards that. And out of that meeting, I really believe, because of the ice-breaking game that I played with them, interview game, I think I think I got her to kind of release some things and open up to the ladies of the church and to me, that she feels like she's called to ministry and she wants to be a part. And I feel like for her to take the reins and really start kind of ministering to ladies is going to be a great situation. That's what kind of came out of it. And I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited to see where it goes, because her husband is now starting to work on getting his to be ordained. And I told her, I said, well, he's doing it. You're next. You're on deck. And she just kind of looked at me, and I said, I'm telling you right now, this is this is going to happen. So I'm super excited. But my message was pray for fire. And I know there were a couple of ladies of our church that were not there because of the time that it was, because I am not a morning person, y'all. It ain't happening. My mom and I, not a morning person. My brother and my dad, morning people. 5 a.m. Let's go get some coffee. Let's go hike 5 miles in a mountain. And no, let's not lie. I got some pain issues. I got some arthritis. It takes me a little while to get up during the day. Now, if I know that I'm gotta be up early in the morning, I go to bed early and I psych myself up that I gotta be up and ready and prepared. Am I going to need like a gallon of coffee? Probably. Yeah, probably. But I'm not a morning person, so I did gauge it in the afternoon. I also gauged it that way because, let's face it, ladies are typically the women of the house. You want to make sure everybody's had breakfast, lunch. They're kind of got up with their day before you could take some time for yourself. So I just kind of thought like mid-afternoon was kind of a sweet spot fit for everybody. And then you got home in time for dinner. Or if the ladies so wanted to, they could always leave the meeting, go together, and go to dinner and continue to fellowship. So that meeting was all about building, and that's what I wanted it to be. And the message I wanted to send to them was to pray for fire, because in the world today, there's a lot going on. In everybody's lives, there's a lot going on, a lot of challenges, and all that sort of stuff. And your always gut instinct is the woe is me, pray to be saved, take me out of this. Basically the pity party situation. And I am a person that, for years and years and years was a pity party situation. Feel bad for me. And I'm very much now in a mindset situation to look at the positive for every situation. And I had the opportunity, you know what, I am going to keep going into this and won't get to it, but I recorded my message. And so basically this episode is for me to share that message because it has the scripture references and things for the ladies to listen to And so because if they missed it, they can listen to it, or they can share it to other women because they feel like need to hear it. So my message was pray for fire. And so I'm going to drop it in here. I'm going to do some editing, tweaking. But I'm going to drop it down for y'all to listen to. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So it's going to come on next. And it'll be that. And it's, I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes long. I'm not quite sure. I didn't really gauge the time of it before I dropped it down in my programming here. And I really hope it blesses you guys. I hope you guys have a super duper rest of the week. One reason why I kind of decided on the Mondays was because this is how I wanted to lead off my week. This is how I wanted to start my week because I will have accomplished a goal. It will have happened, and I can start my week with having conquered one little thing off my to-do list. So I hope you guys have a blessed week. I hope this blesses you. And if you guys need anything, you can find me. You can find me on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook at Angie Out of the Blue, on Twitter at Rare Queen Angel, and of course, this podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, and hopefully I'm going to get it on my website soon. So at royaltyandroot.com. If you guys need anything, you can always drop me a line if you have a suggestion for an episode or something you want to hear me talk about or someone you want to hear from in my life. I'm trying to get my mom up here to get up some courage to come on the microphone and different things, and my friends. So we'll see what happens. Have a great rest of the week. Love y'all. What we are going to talk about is pray for fire. Ooh. I wish I had my little flames I had for Pastor Richard. So again, we are recording this, so it is what it is. I'll edit out if you guys want me to edit out if you say anything. So I was recently, as I said, I am an author. By the end of the year, it'll be 7 books, but my 5th book was entitled Survivor to Conqueror. And my books are an anthology series. They're written by many women. Each woman write 1 chapter. And so I was challenged with writing a chapter about being a survivor and shifting into being a conqueror. So my problem was, and I get a month to write this, just 1 month. My problem was I don't see myself as a survivor. My PKU is something I was born with. It's ingrained with me. It's not going anywhere, which is fine. So if I were to say that I have survived my depression, my PKU, all those things, I'm surviving myself. That's sort of a negative thought. Like, who wants to think about I'm surviving myself? That's steeped in depression, that's steeped in, like, there's something that you need to overcome about yourself, and life's about acceptance. My next problem was, I don't see myself as a conqueror either because my PKU was always going to be there. It's an ongoing battle. I don't win it, I just balance it. And so it's not something that I can conquer because it's always, that would be conquering myself. Who wants to defeat yourself? Does anybody want to do that? I mean, again, that's kind of negative. So, basically, I didn't know what to do. I'd pretty much given up. I was like, no. I had set out a goal. One of my dreams was she had outlined there were going to be 6 books originally. Now they've dedicated 1 completely to me. My goal was to be in all 6 books. And so I was very upset because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to write this chapter. There was nothing in this book or this theme that particularly speaks to me because I don't see myself as a survivor of myself. I don't see myself as a conqueror of myself. You know, then I started my journey with Theta. And one night, our leadership team, because we have a team of 5 ladies who present a Bible study and give us a word, spoke about praying for fire. So when you think about it, all of the world's most precious stones and metals are forged in fire.
They're created under pressure, volcanic heat, and the most extreme levels. As part of what they talked about. In the Bible, they talk about women are as precious as rubies. All that stuff is forged at thousands of years of pressure. So it is inherent when we get into a situation that is stressful, if you're sick, if you're going through something with your family, if you're going through anything, our gut instinct is to pray to be relieved of that. God, save me. Get me through this. What can I do? Get me through this hurdle. Lift me out of this hurdle. But what happens if you take a diamond out of the pressure too soon? It's not a diamond anymore. You need to be refined. You only get refined in that pressure. You can only be built through that. So then, kind of like Pastor Richard, 3 a.m., it kind of hit me that night. Again, it hit me at 3 a.m. You're not a survivor because your battles aren't over yet. You're not a conqueror because the battles aren't won. Your story's not done. It's not over with. I've had several PKU organizations and people say, are you going to write your story? And my answer has always been, I can't write a memoir. I can't write my story because I'm only 40. My story's not done. When somebody writes a memoir or somebody writes a biography, it's typically, you think, at the end of your life. I'm not done. My battles are not done. My fires aren't done. I'm not done being forged. So then a word came to me, and this is a word that I've kind of heard before, and I didn't really kind of put it together. But it said, you're a virago. Does anybody know what that is? A virago right now, in today's terms, is typically used as a derogatory word for women. Like you're domineering, you're masculine, basically a shrew. However, the original meaning of virago was a female warrior. They're brave. They were the stories in Greek time that they told epic stories about. They were the viragos. They were the original Amazonian warriors, which were all women. I am not a conqueror. I am not a survivor. I'm a soldier forged in fire. It reminded me of a saying, because if anybody knows a little bit about my family, again, my dad was a soldier in Behold the Land because he was in the military for 30 plus years. My family is represented by every branch of the military. Since the Civil War, we have fought. We have been in the military every generation. There's a saying that dates back to the Civil War. It's called, there are no atheists in a foxhole. Why is that? Because, again, when you're under extreme stress, trauma, fear, and you're going through a battle, everyone wants to believe there's a higher power protecting them. So who does that remind you of? What story in the Bible does being in fire remind you of? Yep. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Do you know the 5 P's that we learn from them? Does anybody know the 5 P's? This is usually like, I don't know, growing up in the Catholic Church, I only learned about them through CCD, children's church. They were never addressed during Catholic Church. So there are 5 P's that we learn from the fiery furnace. And so that's my word today, is the 5 P's of the fiery furnace. First P, they were persuaded. They were fully persuaded of the promises of God and their obedience to them. Daniel 3:16 through 18. If life pushes you too far, it is time to rise up with the attitude of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. An attitude where you are fully persuaded by God. You're all in. Number 2, pressure. When Nebuchadnezzar heard of their defiance, he didn't back down. He turned up the pressure. Have you ever noticed this church as an example? When we really start making progress, you're pushed back. You take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Because when you're going where you're supposed to go, the devil's going to push back 100-fold. It's not going to be easy. Daniel 3:16. Things may heat up in your life. You found yourself staring into the fire. A fire like none you've ever seen before. You thought God would save you. You prayed God would save you, but when the devil turns up the heat, so does God. Again, the most powerful gemstones. Diamonds cut everything. There is nothing that can shatter a diamond, and it is only forged over thousands of years of pressure. Third, promise. God isn't going to save you from the fire. He will bring you through it. As you walk through, you won't get burned. Fire is deadly. So when Nebuchadnezzar built the fire was so strong, so hot, even his strongest soldiers couldn't withstand the heat. Daniel 3:22. If you are fully persuaded of the promises, you will not be destroyed. You expected the miracle outside the fire, but the truth is the miracle is in the fire. Protection. Daniel 3:24 through 27. When they walked into the fire, they didn't feel it. They didn't smell it. Jesus walked with them and protected them. When you walk into and through the fire, your persuasion in the promise of protection will break the chains. Burn down the walls around you instead of burn you. The enemy has used your battle to keep you living in a small container. Jesus will burn down the walls of your box so you can live outside the box. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the vision of this world, but be transformed. Promotion. That's our final one. Daniel 3:30. What happened when these three exited the fire? When they came out on the other side, they were promoted by the very man that was persecuting them. This fire could have been your greatest battle, your greatest test. Sometimes it's another battle in the overall war. But if you endure it, if you push through it, and you come out the other side, there is promotion. Spiritual promotion, because fire refines. Physical promotion. Others will recognize the goodness of God through your faith, through your commitment. When things get tough and you stay committed, people will see that. You ever notice, I think, I was talking with Emmanuel one time, and he was telling me that, everybody asks, obviously he's an African-American man. Why are you at a church basically full of white people? Because they're curious. And he was like, because that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm committed to be there. I'm committed to help them build and grow. And I know deep down, others are committed too. And the fires of life are around you. Take notice and take heart. There is a miracle for you. Believe the promise. When the pressure increases, receive the protection and ultimately the promotion. That's honestly my word for you. I live this every day. Like I said, I battle with severe depression. I battle with pain. I battle with my PKU. I was sick all week, and poor Dean basically had to pull everything together for me. And he was kind of like, are you going to cancel? Are you going to cancel? And I'm like, no, because you got to push through. We're kind of at a point as a church, we're ready to push through. Does that mean we're going to grow leaps and bounds overnight? No. As a matter of fact, that's okay if we don't. Because we want the people that are going to stay. And like Rosemary said when we were talking, even those who stay for a day, a week, a month, and they go away, we've planted a seed. One of Mother Teresa's greatest quotes references the pebble in the river. She battled with Great Depression. As a matter of fact, she believed that she'd never touched anybody, that nothing she did ever amounted to anything. She was never to be praised. She battled deeply with demons, and her answer was, I throw a pebble, and it makes a ripple. And eventually that ripple gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. She knew she was never going to see the fruits of her labor, but she trusted and had faith that that ripple was going to get bigger. If I testify to you, and I reach you, and you testify to 2 other people, and 2 other people, and 2 other people, it multiplies. We may be small, but dynamite comes in small packages. Which, by the way, is another one of my line sisters' names. She got dynamite. I got architect. Come on. I know, I'm still stuck on that. It's like, really, like I need another A in my life. But honestly, that was my word. I just really wanted to speak with you guys. We've been speaking a lot at the board meetings and a lot with the worship team, and with, like, we want to grow the church, but we also want everyone to be involved. And we know that everybody's going through a lot, especially with everything going on in the world and all the things in general. And I just felt like it was kind of a nice little message to give, the 5 P's of the fiery furnace. Who would like to close with a prayer? Not me, I don't pray out openly. That is one of my fears. No. I think Linda's going to pray is what I think is going to happen.